This week on the Spike and Jones podcast.
So let me tell you a little bit about this week. Very, very difficult, very, very frustrating, big struggles. And when I sat down to do a few interviews this week, I just really felt out of the game. Fortunately for me, when I sat down with Spike this week, he saved my bacon. Bacon. Boy, did he save my bacon. Fortunately, I have some decent editing skills, so I was able to cut the chaff out, so to speak. Regardless, this week on the podcast with Spike and Jones, you're going to hear a really, really strange topic. And that topic? Preconceived notions. Yeah, you're probably thinking the same thing. Why? So I'll let Spike explain because, well, it ended up pretty good. Pretty darn good. And with that, time to rock and roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Spike and Jones.
Last week we did this movies podcast, and when we did the movie podcast, there was a moment in there when we were talking about Interstellar, and we couldn't remember the title.
Interstellar.
We couldn't
That's
remember.
the Matthew McConaughey on a planet with 3-foot water all over it, and all of a sudden here comes the tidal wave. Interstellar.
Right. And we were talking about Matt Damon, and for the life of us, neither of us could remember the title
Of Interstellar.
of the movie.
Yeah, that's how great it was.
It was so good. Yeah, it's truly good.
Interstellar mongrel nymphs. So Springsteen lyric.
So
From Does This Bus Stop at 82nd Street.
this happens every podcast. You notice that the first 10 minutes is just
Sweat sock
basically you
pimps and
winging it and me laughing at you.
Interstellar mongrel nymphs. Lord said that lady left him limp. Love's like that. Sure it is.
Nice. Very good. Well, I promised us that I would edit that part out.
Oh, good.
Well,
Best part of it?
I forgot.
Oh, shite skis.
Yeah, and I left it in,
Okay.
and it is the best part
Well,
of that
yeah,
podcast.
that's what, and hopefully as we evolve into a working unit,
Yeah.
like any good marriage, there'll be no sex.
No.
And we'll figure out our groove. And he gave me a peace sign for you folks at home. That was a flash me the peace sign.
Yeah.
You thought he was
Piece of something.
He was trying to roll a hard 8, if you know what I'm saying, and I think you do.
That was a great movie, by the way, Hard 8.
Hard 8?
Yeah.
Is that a porn?
That's Paul Thomas
Could
Anderson's.
be a porn.
Oh, no, it's Paul Thomas Anderson's first film before he did Boogie Nights.
Oh, see, that could have been a porn.
It's
See,
so good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
As opposed to Eyes Wide Shut, which is just a weird.
It's a terrible movie.
God, terrible movie. You know, not even more nude Nicole Kidman could have saved that movie. But we
No.
did movies last week.
I know.
Okay,
I know. This is just the warm up.
good.
I have no idea if we'll cut this out.
The
We probably
storm
won't because
before
we
the
never did
calm.
that. So I know it's killing you. Mm-hmm. And I know we don't have to talk about this, but I think it's good to at least sort of,
Let the air
yeah, exactly. I
take
don't
the
want to
pressure off,
exacerbate the wound, but I think it's vital
You're
that
gonna
we
lance my political boil.
Absolutely.
I like this.
Absolutely. I'm squeezing
Lancing
that
America's
golf
boil
ball
since
size of
19
pus out.
Thanks. Brought to you by oatmeal.
Steel cut.
I love steel cut oatmeal.
I'm trying.
Non-sequitur.
I'm trying to get into it.
Non-sequitur, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so what is this, an episode of Family Guy? So tell me about your thoughts this week, because I know you care. I don't want to say I don't care, but if anybody has seen my Facebook posts, you can tell I was kind of mocking the whole system the last 24 or 48 hours. So feel free to give us your thoughts, Spike.
On President Trump?
President-elect.
I've learned to say it without vomiting, so I'm really making progress. No, you know what? It's funny. You know how I feel political out there, people. You know how I'm at. And I made no bones about it because I take great pride in my respect for and admiration of. Let's cue the patriotic music. Release the eagle. I love politics. I love this country. It's the only system like it on the face of the earth. Often, imitated, never duplicated democracy, a republic. I was clearly wrong, as were a majority of Americans. No. A slight majority of Americans who voted for Hillary Clinton, more voted for her, but less electoral college votes mean we have President Trump. And that's cool. That's the system we have. I'm not going to bitch about it because my side didn't win. I like fairness. We've talked about that before. I came out of the day shell-shocked, as all were, thinking that a person of this shallow moral quality is, and I'm saying that as I'm saying it's kind. I don't want to be all inflammatory.
You're being kind.
He's a bigot. He's a racist. He's a xenophobe. He's a misogynist. He's what yada yada yada. I saw a nice piece on some of the faults of our founding fathers and those we have championed and heroed from our past, and they all had faults. You know, they were all getting the job done. But it all hinged for me on a phone call from my dad. And by the way, we were going to deep six preconceived notions this week.
Yes,
that was our chosen and topic for the podcast was preconceived notions.
Yes,
because I find them to be pervasive in all of life. Every aspect of life is affected by your preconceived notions. They can be your undoing. They can be your saving grace. They're not always wrong.
Correct.
They're not always true.
Like stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, and I was wondering what the difference between a stereotype and a preconceived notion is. You know, it's a thin line. It's a tough needle to thread. As per the election, it was my preconceived notion that America wouldn't elect someone so grossly unqualified for an office. I feel is probably the hardest putt in all of politics, let alone humanity. You know, managing this behemoth of a system, appeasing people with a rainbow of beliefs and objectives and desires and expectations is tough. It's very tough. You know, half the country thinks you're full of shit, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
So my dad and I hadn't spoken for months because he lives in the great state of America's penis. Florida.
To quote Danny Bonaducci, Florida.
Yeah, the way it's just humping the Caribbean for you every day of your life, you know. And it's not
Always
a dry
erect.
hump. It's not a dry hump. Always up for the task, Florida. So my dad's a Floridian Trumper. So we haven't spoken in a while. My dad actually called me yesterday.
Did you not speak because of this political concern that there was a chasm between you and your father?
we had a strained relationship anyway because I lost my mom on a very, very, very unexpectedly a few years ago, and Dad, God love him, met somebody and remarried much faster than I thought was appropriate. But that's not my life. It's not my loneliness. It's not my need to be happy. Not my right to be happy.
Yeah, and
I'm cool with that. So we had a strained and distant relationship, but not a vacant relationship. But with the election, I was unable to really bring myself to have the argument again and again and again and again and again because I was passionate about it. I care deeply about the election, the country, the whole nine yards. I've got daughters, so I care. I've got a vested interest in this. It's not just my world.
Do you think you care more because you have daughters and
Yes, I
sons?
do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Sons will find a way. Daughters are more subjected to the restrictions put upon them. I've got daughters who were raised by a, at best, shabby parenting model. They're going to make bad choices. They're going to need options. That's my overall arcing belief of my political spectrum. My dad called me and said, first off, I said, you didn't call to gloat. He said, no, I called to check on you. Come on, I know how you feel about this whole thing. I know how yesterday must have been for you. And I started giving my fears and worries. He's like, Jamie, and first off, my name is James Matthew Michael O'Neill.
Yeah.
And Jamie is what everybody east of the Mississippi calls me Jamie. Very few people call me Spike. Nobody in Seattle calls me Spike. People who call me Spike or call me Jamie because they know that about me and try to think it's brings them closer.
They're your buddy. Yeah.
It's disingenuous, and I don't buy into it. So my mom never called me Spike. She loved the name Jamie, and she was like, I gave you a perfectly good name. There's no need to change it. He said, Jamie, look, have I taught you nothing? He had to close the deal. He's a salesman. Don't believe this shit he was saying. He's a salesman, and he's good at it.
Persona.
He's a shyster.
It's a persona.
He's a con man, which is, of course, just varying degrees of salesmanship. He knew what he had to do to close the deal, and didn't he close the deal? I'm like, yeah, of course he did. He said, God, he closed the deal. Look who he's always been. He's always been a guy who, they say, wasn't a true Republican, wasn't a true conservative. He's always been pro-choice. He's always been equality. He's always been whatever. So that's who he is. Is he misogynist? Yeah. Is he uncouth? Of course. I could roll back the history books for you and point out your heroes and bring them all down if you want to really look at them.
Yeah.
So look who he really is.
Including yourself, probably.
Yeah. Right? Absolutely. We all put on a face preconceived notions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my preconceived notion was America wouldn't elect such a rogue. But I was clearly wrong about that.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that if my candidate had won, it would be the most paralyzed period in our nation's history governmentally. Would have gotten nothing done. Talking about obstructionism. Good Lord. They were talking about impeachment a week before the election.
Yeah.
They were talking about endless hearings.
Yeah.
You know, the way the campaign had taken Hillary down to nothing in America's eyes, crooked Hillary, lock her up chance, nothing would have gotten done. So now we've got at least 2 years of open track on obstruction.
Yeah. So let's see if they can actually do it.
Right. And if they can't, it'll be a quick turnaround and they'll vote and they'll drain the swamp, to steal a phrase.
Right.
So I'm optimistic.
Right.
You know, anybody, oh, about the Supreme Court? How about the Supreme Court? And he won with Roman Catholics. He won with the evangelicals because of the Supreme Court. You want to control the court. It's big for people. It's passionate. I get it. He's going to nominate one person. That's all he's going to get. Well, he could nominate up to 3 or 4 people. Are you kidding me? They're going to retire? The liberals are going to retire under this guy?
Yeah.
You think? They're going to wrap Ruth Bader Ginsburg in bubble wrap. No more jet skiing. No more parasailing. No more sex parties, RBG. No more.
Yeah.
If she gets sick, they're going to prop her up with popsicle sticks.
Yeah.
Until the next round.
Yeah.
And you know, God forbid he's who he's always been, not who he campaigned as, and he won't nominate a extremist conservative. He promised it, but he promised people everything all day.
Right.
So I'm optimistic. I'm you know what? If he's the guy who gave the victory speech, I can live with that.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I told somebody I'm happy to get in my brand new Trump Ford, pull onto the Trump Parkway, crossing over the Trump Bridge, and drop off my daughter at the brand new Donald J. Trump High School.
This is amazing.
If he wants to build stuff, great. I'm all for that. If he wants to put people to work building stuff, cool. I don't think he understands the complexity of the job. I think his promises are unfulfillable because he just doesn't, you know, it's not business anymore. It's government. That's a different business.
Yeah.
And getting where he wants to go is going to be tough. He has a preconceived notion that his skill set will transfer to the political arena. And while it works in a campaign, because the campaign is nothing but sales, to govern is more. To govern is compromise and statesmanship.
Yeah.
As a good businessman, compromise can be a detriment. We'll see if it works.
Yeah.
You expected a suicidal spike today.
I did.
You really did?
Actually, I don't know how to respond to your positive.
Good.
Which, no, I mean, this is a
you had a
wonderful
preconceived notion, given my track record of the evidence I put forth, thought I was going to be beside myself.
Yeah.
And I literally cried myself to sleep election night. I literally did.
Wow.
I've got a daughter.
You actually had tears in your eyes.
I messed it up. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I went to bed afraid, and may still be true. We'll see who's really sitting down at the desk. I would have loved to have been in the office today and we record this, of course, ahead of time. I'd love to have been in the office for the first meeting when Trump came to the White House to meet President Obama.
Yeah.
As they begin the peaceful transition of power.
Yeah. To hear what they really talked about.
I can just imagine if it were me. All right, motherfucker. I get it. I get what you had to do.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
You closed the deal. Good on you.
This is an Obama thing,
That's
by the
my
way.
Obama impression. It's what you had to do. I get it, motherfucker. Have some Kenyan food. Get the joke. I say, look, I get you had to close the deal. You had to do what you had to do, and you did it. Congratulations.
Yeah.
If we had done what we had to do, we'd have won, but you ran a better campaign. You're brilliant.
Yeah.
So, but you look out your window last night, Mr. Trump. Did you see the mob outside your window protesting your election? Did you see them coast to coast in major cities? You know, you want to be the president of all Americans, you said at your speech. That's good. That's an excellent goal. That's what it will take. It's a difficult putt. We screwed up by not hearing your people's point of view. We ignored them.
Yeah.
Thought we didn't need them. It was our undoing. If you want to be the president of all people, hear what they have to say. Govern accordingly. I love people like, oh, I see all these people on the social media. Hey, whining liberal, snot nose, go back to your mom's basement, blah, 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 blah. You know, protest is, right of free assembly is one of the basic tenets of this government.
Sure.
Of this nation. Okay?
Sure.
For everybody who has their Second Amendment rights and advocacy, I believe in it. I love it. Good for you. It's no more valuable than the right of free assembly.
Don't you think, though, that large-scale assembly / protest, though, has as much power to change an opinion as the guy that yells on the web that says, believe in my guy because X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, Z, and says it every day for, I don't know, 5 years. To me, I equate it to Kshama Samwant, who screams at the top of her lungs, but I don't feel that she necessarily accomplishes anything with that. Sure, in socialist Seattle, she might be doing that.
She might be, yeah.
But around the country, do you think anybody really cares what? I don't care if it's 10,000. I don't care if it's 10 million people. That's still not the majority.
No,
I'm not
it's
saying
not.
that it's not powerful or not valid or worthy.
Okay.
And I love the idea of that assembly and of people being upset. But do you think in the grand scheme of things, people really care? I don't mean people. I should say the government.
I think I hope that they do, and they should, and I'll tell you why. I don't know how tuned in you are about the mechanism of learning.
I'm not sure I follow where that's going. So.
The more senses you can stimulate while teaching something, the better received it is. Okay? So if you can touch something, smell something, see something, hear something, you'll learn it deeper. It gets in deeper.
The subconscious sort
Right.
of.
I mean, the senses. The more senses are touched in a teaching moment, the better the chances of retention and understanding.
Makes sense.
So Obama can point to the polls and say, look, man, out of 110 million people, there's a 200,000 vote difference between the two of you. Out of 110 million people, 200,000 difference. This is a 50-50 nation.
Yeah.
So if you want to hit all those people, you better preach to that half. When he sees mobs, not mobs, that's the wrong word. When he sees protesters, because I don't believe that anarchists should be how you deem it. The generalization is one of the 7 deadly sins.
Right.
Not all Trump supporters are racists. I would never.
There's
I would
another
never think
preconceived
that.
notion.
Right.
Yeah.
I would never say that, but that's the kind of generalization that is deadly and to our undoing. Not all liberals are live in the basement, can't get a job, government owes me money people. Liberals. I love getting on the social media, the web, and people who paint liberals with that brush. I guarantee you, I made more money than all of them.
Yeah.
I guarantee I've paid more taxes than all of them.
Yeah.
So to think that I want a handout, you don't know me and you don't know the story, and you're talking out your ass.
Yeah.
Much like any people who hate Trump supporters think they're all redneck swamp people. They're not.
Right.
You can't generalize. But when you can show him that, look, there's protests in every street in America. Now, here are the numbers from the election. That's more ways for him to learn. That's more ways for the message to get in.
Yeah.
So I think protests do work. I think the visual example of, look, and people who say, oh, we didn't protest when Obama won. Do you really think after the campaign that was run,
No doubt,
that if Hillary Clinton were your president this morning, if there had been a 40,000 vote swing in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania,
and we had
was the big
president, what if those 3 states had turned?
Yeah.
The Electoral College goes the other way, and she's your president. You think there wouldn't have been protests in the street from armed Trump supporters?
Absolutely.
Who were told ahead of time the election, convinced ahead of time the election was rigged?
Yeah,
Rigged, You really want to sit there and tell me that you didn't protest when Obama was elected and you wouldn't have protested if Hillary was elected? You're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You're not even getting to me.
I agree.
You're lying to yourself.
I agree.
So, and these are all preconceived notions, and they're force-fed points of view.
Right.
So, and I know that's a lot for the election. I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
We could have stopped right there, saved 18 minutes of podcast time to talk about shit people aren't sick of hearing of.
Yeah, sure.
I'm hoping that when this podcast actually makes the light of day, we'll be a week plus out of the election. The overdose of chatter and blather will have died down.
Yeah.
And people will give a shit again. So I hope my point of view didn't offend. It was honest. It wasn't intended to be offensive.
Yeah.
If it did offend, I apologize to your pussy ass millennial nature.
Yeah.
I saw the best Halloween costume, by the way, for next year. People, put it down, mark it down. Guy had a hat on that said millennial, a name tag that said "Hello, I'm fragile," and he was wrapped in bubble wrap.
I saw that.
Bubble wrap.
Yeah, I saw
Is that
that.
just genius?
That's pretty great.
Genius.
That is great.
Genius.
So, but I do have to ask this question because I kind of touched on it a second ago. I believe that Trump created a persona to get the wayward and the upset on his side.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He's a salesman. He closed the deal.
How much do you think of that persona is real? Because clearly, you said earlier that here's his weaknesses and his negativities and his, the misogynistic point of view.
Right.
To go down the list, right?
Right.
How much of it do you think is real? How much of what he did, at least post meeting in the press conference with Obama, where you saw him sitting there quietly and being honestly quite confident and sure and soft. How much of that is real? I mean, what are we going to really get? What do you think we're really going to get?
Well, that's the problem with a
salesman.
I was going to go with psychopath, but salesman would work. Here's the problem. A person who's had so many points of view and been so many things to so many people, you don't know who you're really dealing with.
Right.
There's literally a multiple personality type disorder going there.
Okay.
There really is. And I think if you look, at that point, you have to take the body of work into consideration. And like I said earlier, his whole life he's been a donor to the Clintons. He's been a friend to the Clintons until he needed to be something different than he was.
Right.
But the ability to change your face like that is troubling. If you're able, if you have the moral ability to slap on a bigoted face to sell the car or whatever you're selling, to sell the campaign, a lot of people couldn't take that job, couldn't take the sales job. A lot of people wouldn't have the stomach to go to bed at night being so disingenuous to who they really are.
Right.
The fact that you're able to do that is troubling. The fact that he did it so well is troubling. I don't think he's that person. He's a parent.
Yeah.
How do you raise daughters? And he's got a couple of beautiful girls.
Yeah.
Even Tiffany, to a degree. I mean, she's troubling.
No,
She's the Marilyn Munster of the family.
We're sorry.
Yeah, I am. But how Trump-like of me to call her a mutt.
No.
I mean, Ivanka Trump is a beautiful woman and a smart woman.
Yeah.
And she was embarrassed by the shit her old man was putting out there.
Yeah.
But she's been around the deal long enough. She knows what it takes to close.
Yeah.
And he closed. Who are we going to get? I don't know. He's got an opportunity to, and somebody made this point to me this week too. What's his most foundational trait? If you had to say one thing about Donald Trump, and we could take all week doing this, and they made this point, and I think it was a good one. His most bedrock trait is the desire to be liked.
Yeah.
Okay? So to that end, I think if you want to please as many people, and the presidency is unliked by half the country all the time. His desire to be liked could be the one driving force that keeps him centered and keeps him benevolent. Because you're not going to get massive approval unless you're doing the job well, you do the job inclusively.
Yeah.
And I think that egomaniacal narcissistic trait of his, the need to be liked, stems from Dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is probably going to be the rudder of his time in office, of his legacy.
Yeah. No, I get that. I was thinking
I'm full of it today, aren't I?
Yeah.
I am full of shite today.
I was thinking about the narcissism too, and I was thinking about the fact that, to me, this is the stamp on his career. Mm-hmm. This says he can literally scream at the heavens, "Hey, Dad, you turned me into a businessman, a leader, a real estate developer, a billionaire,
an entertainer,
and now, Dad, I made the presidency."
Yeah.
So I actually think it's really about him.
About Dad or about Donald?
No, excuse me. About Donald. For Donald, it's about Donald.
Yeah.
He may be a hyper successful president. He may not be, but ultimately, I think it's just for him, to him. I really do think that.
Yeah.
That was my struggle, why I didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was, again, in it for himself.
Yeah.
And my worry wasn't so much about the things that you worry about, because I kind of looked at it and said, it's a bunch of crap. I think it's what we want to hear, or what we want to be afraid of, to sway a nation.
Yeah. He closed the deal. I wish I told my dad months ago. I really do.
Yeah.
I'd have slept better.
Yeah.
So preconceived notions.
There we go.
Getting back to that thread the elusive thread we've been looking for.
Yeah. You've been setting it up all morning, and I've been steering us away. But,
Rambling Jack over here. He's really the taskmaster.
Yeah. Well, clearly I'm not. I'm kind of in a mood. I don't know how to explain it. I'm in a lost world today. I'm telling you, man.
Why so?
I'm not sleeping well. Last week we were talking about the fact that I thought I had kidney stones.
Right.
And I
just
don't.
Gremlins?
I just had muscular gremlins.
Nice.
But that night I went and did a 3-hour interview with a Seattle rock band, and I laid on the floor while I did the interview.
Dude.
Yeah, it was actually really awesome.
Art is pain, my friend.
It was worth it.
But what I ended up doing is I ended up sleeping on my side, putting a pad underneath my side, and just kind of took the stress off of my stomach and the musculature.
That's how Santa sleeps, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
I thought he slept on Mrs. Claus.
No, she needs to breathe too. Come on.
She's the third mattress.
Great. Clausian sex imaging. Thanks.
So back to preconceived notions, the fourth detour. Spike came up with a really great idea, preconceived notions, and of course my brain, the first thing I did is I went on Google and typed, what is a preconceived notion?
Okay. Oh God, that could have taken you a month and a half.
The funny thing is of course I know what a preconceived notion is, but for whatever reason, I couldn't think of one that I had, and I needed, Google to basically light my brain on fire.
Okay, so what is the difference between a preconceived notion and a stereotype?
I didn't look this up, but here's my assumption.
Okay.
Excuse me. To me, a preconceived notion would be you said it earlier. You had said that preconceived. You're bringing this thinking in ahead of the curve. My God, I almost had a parasite.
Okay. There are no accidents.
A stereotype would be somebody telling you in advance how to think.
For me, a preconceived notion is that all salesmen are slimy.
Okay.
It's a stereotype, but given the body of evidence, no one told you to think that. You've come to that preconceived notion because of the body of evidence,
right?
Given from the stereotypical salesman. I hope that's not too confusing to folks. No. It's funny because I'm in sales right now. I'm doing some sales for CBS Radio. If you want to move your business and bring your customers in, call Spike O'Neill at CBS Radio. While they let me do some broadcast things until they find me a home to get me back on the air full time. Whereas this vehicle here I love because it allows me to do what I love doing and exercise the muscles I'll need once I get back to my career. As a salesman, you have these preconceived notions that you fight. I'll give you an example. I was selling cars for my dad years ago when I first decided that psychology was not going to be my field of choice, and 6 years of college without a degree was plenty. So I started selling. Someone would come onto the lot, a young person with a kid and a wife. You would be preconceived to believe, the preconceived notion is that this guy's got no money. He's obviously making little money. He's a young guy, hasn't established himself yet. He's got a wife, he's got a kid. He can't afford an expensive car. So I was new to the sales floor, and this guy comes onto the lot. You see him pull in a new car, a year or two old. So there's another preconceived notion, and maybe that's just a body of evidence and being able to read a situation. If he's got a new car, he wants to trade in, and he's probably owes more than it's worth.
Yeah.
He's underwater in that car. This guy's not a good prospect. An experienced salesperson will not go out and wait on this guy. It's a waste of his time. Let the new guy have him. Okay, so I went out there and started talking to this guy. I had no preconceived notions because I was new to sales. Long story short, the kid owned 7 Domino's pizza franchises at the age of 26.
Nice.
The brand new car he got, that was his wife's. He was looking for something for himself. He was going to pay cash. Kid was rolling. So a preconceived notion kept all these experienced salesmen from going out there and talking to this guy.
Right.
So in sales now, preconceived notions are deadly. You've got to assume nothing about people. You can't say, oh, this guy he's a small business. He doesn't have this. He doesn't do this. He won't get under, he's an older guy. He's not going to get digital advertising. Preconceived notions are, we talked about this a little bit, they're beneficial. They can be life-saving. They can also be your undoing.
Yeah. It seems that they're typically the latter as well. It just seems to be.
Right. A preconceived notion that, is a preconceived notion that I don't want to walk through a bad neighborhood after dark. Is that a preconceived notion that there's going to be crime there? Or is that just a body of evidence giving you foresight?
That seems more like a stereotype to me.
Okay, really?
Well, to me it does, only because we've had that seed planted that says darkness is dangerous.
Well, that's
because the bad guy can hide behind it. I wouldn't call that a preconceived notion because
that's just evolution saving your ass.
Right.
Okay,
right.
yeah, I can buy that.
Right.
I can buy that.
Yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So preconceived notions that we all carry with us are gifts from our parents. They're gifts from our environment. They're gifts from society's, portrayal of any person, any body of people, anybody, any area, that kind of thing. I mean, you don't have. It's not a preconceived notion that inner cities are more dangerous than the rural.
Yeah.
But then again, if you've seen any of these slasher films, getting caught. There's a movie coming out. I think I saw, or it's out. You ever seen a movie called Green Room? You ever a movie called Green Room?
I don't.
I saw a preview for. We rented this really weird ass movie the other day. My wife and I watched Swiss Army Man. If you've seen that yet,
I've heard about it.
It's bizarre.
Who's in it again?
Harry Potter's in it.
Harry
Potter's
yeah.
in
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe's in it, and the guy that's his counterpart in the movie, actually the star of the film. I don't know his name, and I can't, but I can tell you he was in Cowboys and Aliens as the wimpy son of Harrison Ford. If you ever seen that movie,
No, I have not.
Pretty good movie, by the way. You think it wouldn't be, but it is. Anyway, he's been in that, and he's been in a few other things that I've seen. Weird ass movie. Long story short, I saw a trailer for it for a film called Green Room, where a young band is out touring, the countryside, with their girlfriends, and they take this gig out in the middle of nowhere, and they're trying to. I was only watching it peripherally, but they're trying to, cheat the band or something. Anyway, one of them ends up getting killed in the green room by the locals. A renegotiation turns into a fight, which means you're not getting out of here alive.
Sounds like a Rob Zombie
and
movie.
They're going to kill them all. It might have been. They're going to kill. They have to fight their way out of this hillbilly bar in the middle of nowhere against these rednecks.
Wow. What a weird concept.
I mean, weird concept. So how did I even get on that topic?
We got on the subject because of dark alleys.
Right, rural being more dangerous, or the cities being more dangerous than rural. So preconceived notion there is you're safer in the country. You're not.
Yeah, Deliverance. Did anybody see
right,
Deliverance?
Yeah, right. Canoeing.
Reminder.
Canoeing's America's safest recreational sport. Canoeing. Wrong.
Your arm will end up behind your head.
And I hope you make animal noises. Squeal like a pig. Suey.
So I have one.
Okay.
This was my preconceived notion, and this was a significant one. It was the idea that children will take away all your joy and opportunity.
Wow. That's a sad preconceived notion.
Yeah, it's true too.
Based on a body of evidence, kids are hard. It's harder to be a single couple having fun if you got kids.
Yeah.
Yes, but you swap out joy. You trade shallow joy for meaningful joy.
Absolutely.
I would assess being a parent.
Yeah.
Best times of my life were shared with my kids.
Yeah.
And I've, hugged Springsteen.
Yeah, you
But
have.
I have.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
And Little Steven.
And I've had deep conversations with Little Steven. I had a 45-second. It was supposed to be a 45-second.
Is that a deep conversation? 45 seconds?
No. I spent 90 minutes interviewing Little Steven Van
okay.
Zandt. I mean, I had literally I had deep conversations with Little Steven here in KZOK. I met Bruce at the book signing he recently did in Seattle, and it was a 40-second grip and grin. But I spent twice my allotted time and shook his hand, confessed my undying man love for him, thanked him for creating me as a person because his music inspired me such, and hugged him.
Right, and then promptly compared shoe sizes.
And then security earned their paycheck and got my ass out the room, as we to put it nicely. It's a preconceived notion that stars are huge. They're not. They're all little people. I think we talked about that once before too.
Yeah.
Little man syndrome. Every rock star I've ever met, tiny.
Yeah.
Every movie star I've ever met, tiny.
Yeah.
There are outliers, of course. John Lithgow's 7'9", but
I wouldn't know.
he's not. But he's big, and I was
He's a large
exaggerating.
man.
He's a large man. I saw him walking across the street in Manhattan when I was in there for the Super Bowl a couple years back. John Lithgow literally walked out of a community theater and walked across the street, and we were starstruck.
Hit his head on a traffic signal?
On a sign for a bodega. Yeah, one of those floating, light up signs. Just a tall man. I mean, he walked literally right by us and across the street. And he's in a long camel hair coat and very long, very elegant man.
Wow.
I told you I met Sean Connery once.
Yeah.
We were in LA for a movie junket, and he was a giant of a man, tall, and royal. He was regal is the word.
Right.
He was regal.
Did his ego precede him?
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
'Cause that guy's for real.
He knew who he was,
Yeah.
and everybody. We were in a busy, crowded lobby of a busy, crowded hotel, a very, very nice hotel, the Beverly Wilshire. And when Sean Connery entered the room, it went quiet. The lobby of the hotel went quiet, and everyone watched him just stride through the stride.
Right. Like Christ had arrived.
Yeah,
big
like
stuff.
Aragorn,
Yeah.
had come into the prancing pony and was just owning the joint. It's my geek moment for you.
Yeah, that was pretty
nerd
good.
stock.
Aragorn,
Yeah. That was prancing pony. Anybody give you Aragorn, but I give you the prancing pony and brie.
I
give you that.
I got
one.
both of them.
Yeah, my friend.
So let's go back to my idea that children take your joy away, because I actually want to talk about
Why
that
do you
a
have
little.
that one?
Well, I don't anymore, but I did. I don't know. I think a lot of it might have stemmed from just how I grew up. I mean, I don't remember how much I shared about my childhood with you or with the listening audience, but I grew up in a house where dad was always gone. Mm-hmm. I'm a good dad. Not an absentee father, just a working father. Worked
home every night though, 9 to 5 worker or traveling dad?
A home every night guy. There was a period where he was a traveling dad, but home every night guy, but gone at 7, home at 8.
Wow. And dead tired when he got home.
And dead tired. He ate dinner. We went to bed.
No, I hear you.
And then maybe every 3 weeks on Sunday, he wouldn't work and we would go to Lake Chelan, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we would take the boat from, Chelan up to Stehekin and back.
Nice.
Which, with the family and lunch and the time it takes to actually get up there in a boat, you're talking a full day.
Absolutely.
And because of the sound of the boat and how loud it was and everything else, that meant we weren't communicating.
You weren't talking. You were just
which
together.
Means I just hung out with my dad. Mm-hmm. I never really knew my dad, which is a terrible thing. And he never taught me anything, ever.
Wow.
I mean, nothing.
Okay.
And I think maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he didn't recognize comfort in my desire to want something from him. Like, right. I didn't ask and he didn't tell.
So do you think you took his joy away? Is that where your preconceived notion is derived? Did you take his joy away?
Yeah, I think so.
And you
I know my dad
you
loves
blamed
me.
yourself. Of course he does.
Well,
how can you not love your kid? You look in your kid's face.
Yeah.
I don't get people who can't love their kid. I don't get it. I don't see it. I can't wrap my brain around it.
It was, on his deathbed, it was as evident, more evident, of course, than ever because he knew he was leaving me. But his love for me was always clear. But he put it out telepathically. He just didn't. And my dad just was the quiet, introverted guy.
But solid as a rock, right?
Solid as a rock.
There you go.
But I remember
That's a gift.
I remember my mom saying to me, "Your father doesn't like children. He loves you, but he doesn't like kids." And no, seriously. And you'd watch him, and my dad was the guy who kind of like, you could see in his brain, like, if I could trip that kid, I totally would. I mean, he was that
hey,
guy.
Man, some people don't like children. They're annoying. They're shitty tenants. They never pay rent.
Absolutely.
I get it. They eat all the food. They never pay rent. Terrible.
And so I think I was predisposed to say, okay, I want to be a professional drummer.
Okay.
I want to go out into the world and do my thing.
Okay.
So therefore, getting married and having kids is an awful idea.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first thing I do is I go to South Carolina, get a girl pregnant, get married, have a kid, and ruin my career.
You fucked that up
like that. That's exactly what I did.
Oh, okay.
And then had another child, and then had another child,
right,
and then had another child, but lost her, which is for a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
Got divorced, and then all of a sudden I was free. This sounds terrible because it sounds so terrible to my older children, but I adore my older children. But there was definitely a period of time where I was like, wow, this is an opportunity to actually be a selfish bastard and to go do my thing.
Try that hat on for a while.
Go dig in my career. So this is 96, 97. I got picked up by a band here in Seattle. They're getting ready to go on a big national tour, which was a very exciting time. And then for some reason, I'll never understand why I did this. I left the band. I quit the band. And I quit the band because I thought, nope, I've got to be a good guy. I've got to save my marriage. And I've got to be a good dad.
Good for you.
And
you thought long term for a change.
Yes. And my wife didn't want to save marriage.
Oh,
and promptly completed the divorce.
As usual, you didn't do your homework, though.
Well, because I'd never really been involved. I mean, the truth is that marriage. I use the word fringe a lot, but talk about a fringe relationship. That was a fringe relationship. Okay. I mean, I was like my dad. I came home. There might be intimacy. There might
just
not.
Like me,
right?
Dad.
Right?
Your boy was just like me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I always kind of had this thing in me that just said kids are, and granted for that matter, spouses are in the way. Again, I quoted Tom Likas before, dream killers. They take away your ability to be selfish and to pursue your passions. Okay?
Yeah.
So when I met my wife to be, I told her, there's no way we're having kids. You'll have to get used to my children, and you'll have to be happy and in a sense, almost grateful. Grateful I already have children that you don't have to ruin your beautiful body, and I can be selfish and just have this thing. You know what I mean? It was terrible. I didn't mean it to be terrible, but looking back, it was definitely a terrible way to think. And then, cut to 10 years later, we got pregnant and had a child.
Because you want to hear God laugh, make a plan.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The old saying.
Yeah, and that was the greatest moment of my life.
Nice.
It was.
So, Bus, is your preconceived notion that children eliminate happiness?
It did, but I held on to that, man, like trying to turn coal into a diamond. I was just refused to let that one go. I wanted what I wanted. I wanted my career. I wanted whatever I thought it was supposed to be so bad that I was willing to take away all this opportunity and potential joy for something else that was total surface and bullcrap.
Wow.
So people have kids because they're awesome. Kids freaking rock.
It's a deeper joy.
Yeah, it's the best kind of joy.
It is, because it's selfless joy.
Yeah, yeah. And you'll never know until you have them.
Right.
I'll let you do yours, but I got to say this one thing.
Go ahead.
A friend of mine said to me, "You'll never know how much your parents love you until you have kids."
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. And I've never forgot that. And it's so true, because I didn't realize how much my dad loved me because he was so quiet and so introverted until I had my children. And that woke me up to my dad's soft, gentle love.
Nice. I always had the preconceived notion that I was smarter than my parents.
Okay.
Because I felt that they kind of imposed rules and restrictions on me because they just didn't get what I got. I came from a newer generation. I had more stimulus. I had more information than they ever did. They were working in an antiquated system. I was in a brave new world. I got it more. As I grew older, I came to realize that I was an idiot. All kids are. And it's our job to screw up until we find the system that works. And it's our parents' job to keep us safe and alive.
Yeah.
Mostly because they've been where we've been. I always devalued the worth of experience, to my parents at least. And my old man, I don't know about IQ points. I mean, he's a smart, savvy guy. He's worldly. He's traveled. He's had good times and bad times aplenty. And he got the biggest picture that his job as a dad was the most important job he ever had. And his job was to smack my little ass around when it needed it. Keep me from
was
things.
it little?
Keep me from things that were dangerous to me that I didn't really need but wanted. He knew what I needed. I thought I knew what I needed. He knew what I needed. What I wanted was different.
I think one of the things I struggle with, that idea inside of what you were sharing, is that I put the egg before the chicken a lot.
Well, the egg came first. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I have a terrible habit of doing this. People ask me all the time, because I'm forming this company I shared, a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and they'll ask me, where is it in the process? And I'll say, well, hey, I've got this website and da 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 da. And it's because, to me, I am maybe presupposing by 2 days, right? Mm-hmm. I know the website's going to drop, say, November 12th, right? And today's the 10th. So I can talk about this killer website that I can't wait for you to see, Spike, right? Mm-hmm. And then it doesn't come out. So I end up talking about stuff, and people are like, oh, right?
Okay.
And so I set people up, not for disappointment, but I end up doing that. I end up disappointing.
Well, I see. You rush down the track. Can't wait to... Yeah, you miss your exit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's understandable. It happens.
So I don't know why that got brought up inside the concept of what you were talking about earlier, but it just made me think that, you talk about kind of knowing or believing that you know more than them because you're more advanced, or that's an old fashioned type thinking. Mm-hmm. I don't, you know what I mean? I get it, because I've done that, but I am always thinking I am so ahead of the curve, and I'm releasing information, and I'm talking in advance of things, and I think I'm constantly trying to win somebody's love. I have such daddy issues. Drives me crazy.
Nice.
And the more I talk about my dad, the more I realize how screwed up I am, man. I'm really, really screwed up. I mean, I'm really, really screwed up.
Is it troubling that we're in a locked room right now alone and no one knows I'm here with you?
Fortunately, you have two things going for you: lavender shirt
Okay.
and a fierce beard.
It's a calming shirt.
It is.
It's kind of a contradiction with the beard, though.
It is.
It really is.
It is. I'm just really kind of emotionally lost right now. I'm not gonna
Really?
lie. Yeah. Today, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm really, really lost. I had a interview with Annie Lobert, who you'll hear in a future podcast on the Rockstar Superhero podcast, and I watched her story on online and bawled the whole time.
Wow. That'll screw your head.
Yeah, I mean, her story is profound and wonderful, but it's also so dark and sad. And I was just like, oh my God.
Well, give yourself a break, because you're rowing in opposing directions, emotionally and mentally.
I'm completely screwed up.
Okay. That's okay. Well, you're human, first off, and we all do that. And so if you've been, if you are rowing one course and all of a sudden you go 90 degrees in the other direction for a while, and you can't expect to get right back in the canoe and keep going. Yeah, and that's superhuman.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about you, but the last thing I want to hear in a podcast that's supposedly a comedy podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Now you tell me. Great.
labeled comedy.
Great
on iTunes. Explicit, by the way.
Are we?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
We earned that.
Fucking killer. Is
gratuitous language.
It's supposed to be interesting.
Okay.
And
I think
I'm sorry for just swirling down the toilet bowl today.
Well, you don't be so hard on yourself. There are other people out there who are waiting in line to do that. So don't jump the line to beat you up, man.
Okay. Well, you can save me with one of your really interesting preconceived notions, and then I'll tell you a really silly one.
I have a preconceived notion that. Oh, hold on. I was paying so close to this.
See, you're good at paying attention to me. I'm just good at I
know, but that threw my train of thought off. I have a preconceived notion that people will see my point of view.
Ooh.
Okay, and it frustrates me and befuddles me that they can't, and that's just an immaturity and a closed-mindedness on my own part. But I'm assuming that, given the same set of facts and given the same criteria and evidence, people are going to see my point of view. They may not agree with it, but they'll see it. And when people can't see my point of view, I'm mystified. I'm totally mystified.
Yeah.
I think we all should. I have the preconceived notion that we'll all view evidence the exact same way.
Do you think you're fair?
I hope to be fair. I strive to be fair. I think I am fair.
Yeah.
But then again, my preconceived notion is that just because I think I'm being fair about things, I may not be. I'm being fair from my perspective.
Okay, so can I tell you?
Sure.
From my perspective as a listener to the old radio show, before knowing you, the only time, I shouldn't say the only time, but a lot when you would chime in on a thought that Bob or Joe had, you would say things that I was like, oh, my preconceived notion was you're unreasonable. It was.
Really?
Absolutely.
Unreasonable because I was entrenched in my point of view and not willing to hear theirs?
That you were very clear in your thinking. That was always very impressive. But I think because it differed so from my political stances and or religious stances or whatever, right? The difference between being conservative and liberal, right? I always talk about me being a moderate conservative and you're very, very liberal.
Okay.
You're not a conservative, a moderate liberal.
I'm not.
Super liberal.
I'm a bleeding heart,
absolutely.
Pussy.
Bedwetting all the way. Yeah. And so my brain...
Say bedwetting or bad wedding?
Both, baby.
Oh, wow. That'll make a bad wedding.
But my preconceived notion was he's probably an unreasonable guy. And of course, it's not true at all.
Well, thank you.
You're super amazing and super reasonable and very open to ideas. And you'll listen. You don't just challenge. That makes you really special.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And not short bus special. And I know no disrespect to our special friends.
No.
We need them all.
They deserve that short bus.
They do. I wish I had one. You can park those things anywhere.
Yeah.
I've always had the preconceived notion that my point of view was something that people should see and easily, at least, maybe not agree with, but see.
Right.
And people can't sometimes. It's just not true. I mean, people see things in their own way, and they interpret evidence in their own fashion, and different evidence
Right.
is interpreted differently by different people.
But see, I think they see them, Spike. They just don't embrace them.
Okay. Well,
Because I think
I think you're stating it better than I did. They don't share my point of view. They don't embrace my point of view,
Right.
given the same body of evidence that
Right.
I see.
Right.
They didn't interpret it the way I interpreted it.
Right.
That's a preconceived notion that all people see things the same way I do,
Yeah.
and that can be frustrating.
Yeah, because I mean, from an evidentiary point of view, you bring it, right? You have the skills to bring in the data that's required to support your position. But a lot of people, and especially, I'm not going to throw evangelicals under the bus because I'm kind of a version of it.
They still let you in the meetings,
I'm
and that's
kind of
right.
an evangelical.
Yeah.
But we kind of come in with this sort of faith-based thinking that says, it'll be fine, right? Like God's, like it's like
Yeah.
God's, God's got it. God's got it. It'll be fine, right? Why are we worried about, I don't know, not using plastic bags? Well, the world's not going to be here long enough. Jesus is going to come back before we have to worry about sending plastic out into space to save land.
That island in the ocean
right.
that we're building out of plastic bags and trash.
Yeah. On the carcasses of sea turtles.
I have a preconceived notion that maybe I'm misusing the term here, but I have a Star Trekian point of view, if you will.
Okay.
I have a preconceived notion that as a society we're smart and we'll figure it out. I don't worry about the end of the world, and not from any religious perspective whatsoever. I'm talking about running out of shit before it's a Mad Max land grab, resource grab.
Sure.
I really think that we as a society are better than people think we are. I have that preconceived notion that we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's faith-based. I don't think it's becomes some higher power will deliver us from evil. But I think it's faith-based in so much that if a higher power did create us, he gave us the tools and the makeup
Absolutely.
to figure shit out.
Absolutely.
It befuddles me that science is inhibited by religion, because how can a scientist create something or understand something without God's gift of knowledge and intelligence?
You're right on target.
That's a spark there from your creator.
Yeah.
Whoever you may see him, that inspires you to figure out stem cell research.
We're gifted with this so we can manage this.
Right.
We have the brain,
totally
brain power to make things happen.
Yeah,
I
so
agree with you 1,000%.
I think we'll turn the corner intellectually and invention wise to not need fossil fuels before we burn up what's left of our atmosphere, before the planet cooks itself. I think we'll figure out a way to make solar panels cheap and harness the wind and put hydraulic turbines underseas, and we'll get off the juice.
Yeah.
And the Middle East will have nothing to fight over except the sandbox, and they can have it.
It's funny though. You say that, and I totally agree with you. But being a car guy, I love the sound of a naturally aspirated V12 engine.
Yeah, but you like breathing more, right?
Good jump. I do. And honestly, the torque from an electric engine is
You'll
just
get
fine.
past it.
Right?
I used to like whacking off the Playboy. I couldn't imagine living without it, but I've grown past it.
Yeah, you've just gotten sicker and darker.
Yeah,
now you're into like gay midget.
Whatever. Why do they got to be gay to turn you on? You are just weird.
Because I'm a dark soul.
Why isn't straight midget porn good enough for you?
Dark
soul. I don't want to live in your America.
America. This is Germany, baby.
Ja, das ist gut.
Scheiße.
Das ist sehr gut. Ja.
3. No, wait. 3. I can't remember which one it is.
I don't. Oh,
3.
The shocker. Don't give me
Isn't
the
that what
shocker.
it is?
I don't know.
No,
I don't
no.
I don't
I'm
want to know
talking
your
about
code. Your code for
Your
fisting.
code.
I don't want to
I'm
know.
not.
I'm not shaking your hand.
I'm
after
not
this.
even-
I'm not shaking your hand after this.
I'm talking about a movie, man.
Sure, whatever.
No, I was.
You and your
I was
scruff films.
Oh, come on. I was talking
Those are
about
Harry
Inglorious
Snuff films.
Bastards. Inglorious Bastards.
Oh, yeah,
in the
yeah.
bar scene when he
Yeah.
goes 3.
Yeah,
and
that's-
then the guy
oh, my God.
looks at him like,
Yeah.
isn't it this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yep.
that's so great.
that
That's
was
what I
great.
was doing.
That's
by the
great
way.
directing right there. That's great
Had nothing to do
storytelling.
with that. It was none of
Okay.
that. It was just that. Okay.
There's a Wisconsin. There's a team called I think it's a Wichita State Shockers. Right? No.
Is that really?
No, it's actually like a wheat thing because it's Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Wichita State Shockers.
Sure.
They do well. You'll see them every NCAA tournament basketball time because they play well and they're a good baseball school. But I swear to God, their students have foam shockers.
Oh, really?
With the ring finger down and the pinky and the 2 fingers out. I mean, that's good comedy.
awesome.
That's good
awesome.
comedy right there, people. That's
Weird.
Go Shockers.
We're number one.
You know, these 2 fingers are pink. This one's brown. You know what we're saying at home, folks.
My mom's going to call me up and go,
What is that? Oh, it's a wheat thing, Mom. It's like the threshers, you know. It's a wheat thing. It's all good.
Oh, man.
Threshers are a bird thing, though. By the way, I
You
think.
don't know what to say. Yeah.
Oh, don't know. No, Rex. Rex Smith. I remember you told me.
Yeah, take my breath away. Okay, so I am not Japanese. If you haven't figured that out by now,
What?
but I am married to a wonderful Japanese woman who told me this story, and I love it so much. I am sharing it. So for those of you who don't know anything about Japanese culture, dig on this. In Japan, they have the preconceived notion that in America for Christmas, we on Christmas Day have Kentucky Fried Chicken and Christmas cake. I swear this is true.
Where would they get such an idea, other than from you?
Apparently, really great marketers in Japan. I
Really?
don't know. Yeah.
Do
So
you think it might stem from Americans who, expat Americans in Japan who on Christmas Day
No.
treated themselves to KFC because it was so American and they missed home?
well, I guess that's possible, but no, I don't think so. I
Where
think
the hell?
it's a marketing thing. It had to be, and it's been around for I think about 40 years, which would make sense. That would have been the time that KFC would have started franchising in Japan. Wow! But my wife, she tells me this. So she comes here. She's her first year here. She's here for Christmas, and she says during Christmas, she goes, Where's the chicken?
Where's the chicken?
And then and she's really serious.
Right, right.
Where's the chicken? And I see I see a turkey, and I see a ham, but I don't get it. Where's the chicken? Where's the box of chicken?
Is there a movie that features that?
No, but if you go online, you can look it up. It's really true. And
It's not just your wife's.
No. This
family?
is
This
Japan.
This is a cultural
An
thing in
entire
Japan?
country thinks this is how
Wow.
we are. That we do this in America. So they celebrate an American Christmas by having Christmas cake, which is, by the way, awesome cake, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. I swear to God, this is true. Go online and look it up. It's really, really true.
And you've been to Japan.
Yes, many times. And they'll stand. I mean, they order in advance, of course, because the KFC rush is monstrous.
Right. You pre-order your KFC bucket.
You pre-order.
Is there a holiday bucket that's red, green, and
Yes.
white?
Christmas
Get out of
meal. I
Dodge.
swear to God, they have everything in there. They have all, it's a bucket with all the stuff. They
Do
pay
you get
a
biscuits or fruitcake? What do you get?
fortune.
Really?
Oh, it's a
That's
fortune.
awesome.
It's like $100 for this stupid bucket because it's a one-time Christmas thing.
bucket.
And you have to call in advance. You have
Get a
to,
bucket at
You have
Christmas.
to get a reservation.
We got right the jingle.
And you stand in line. You give them your ticket. They give you a giant bucket with all the stuff, and you
That's
go
so
home.
funny.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So the best part about the story was my wife had a friend come to America we'd been married a year, so late 99. She comes and visits us Christmas time, and she comes in, and my mom's making a turkey, and she walks up, and she has the biggest eyes, and she goes, "That's the biggest chicken I've ever seen."
Yep, we grown big here. We do. We grown big in Texas.
I was like, oh my God, it's real. It's really, really, truly real. But they're just flabbergasted that that's not the way it is. And so when you go there, it's just glorious. It's just glorious.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been. I've been through an airport, so I don't count that.
Yeah.
I don't count visiting countries by being in the airport.
Yeah.
I've been to the Bangkok airport in Thailand on my way to Bangladesh, but I've never been to Bangkok.
Yeah.
I've never gone out and tripped the Life Fantastic and hired a girly boy or whatever the hell they do over there for fun. That's my preconceived notion of fun in Thailand.
You can do that in Utah.
Really? Cool. You get a deal?
That's my experience.
Full
in
meal
Utah,
deal?
by the way, is
Girly
airport,
boy?
No, airport only. Airport only in Utah.
I've
That's
actually
as close as I've
been
gotten.
outside the airport in Utah. I went to an NCAA tournament basketball game there once in Salt Lake City.
Nice.
Yeah, saw my Maryland Terrapins playing out west one time.
Nice. So save me from my terrible preconceived notions.
Do you need another one from me?
Yeah, I mean, I've got more. Do you want me to do another
Yeah,
one?
I feel like I've been dominating the
well, thank
the
God you've
table
been
today.
saving me from sucking.
Not at all. Not at all. No. You've sucked. I haven't saved you. You've sucked. Don't sell yourself short.
Okay. So, how about the idea that mentally ill are dangerous or possessed by the devil?
Oh.
Because they get classified under both. And depending on who you are,
Well,
I mean, again, going back to evangelicals, a lot of people will just say these people are just possessed. There's a
okay.
demonic spirit
Well,
on them.
Yeah, and I could see that would be that's what people who had mental illness, that's how they rationalized it.
Right.
Was demonic possession. I could see that rationale from an uneducated, not uneducated. I don't mean it in the derogatory.
Understood.
Right. Especially in history when you don't know.
Right.
You fear, so you come up with a rationale that comforts, which is the essence of all religion, if you will, if I may be so disrespectfully
You may
bold.
be. You may be. I allow that.
Yeah.
I'll just pray for you more when I go home.
And are the mentally ill dangerous? That's a dangerous preconception to have. I could see where it could be justified, though, because oftentimes they can be dangerous.
Sure.
I would probably put forth the notion that more often than not, they're dangerous. Mm-hmm. Finding a mentally ill person who isn't dangerous might be a rarity, at least less common than finding a dangerous mentally ill person. Because if you're mentally ill, you lack, I think, the guardrails to keep you a safe member of society and to keep you from exceeding the societal norms that we take as safety.
Okay.
Fair to say?
Well, fair in the sense of it being maybe one kind of mental illness.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I know a number of people who are mentally ill. Mm-hmm. I know a gentleman who runs a foundation for what they call lifting the mask of mental illness, removing that stigma.
You talking about the Republican Party? you know Reince Priebus? Sorry. Cheap shot.
Yeah.
Cheap shot. But you won, so you can take it.
You're so speedy and
Take that cheap shot, you winner. You winner.
But
dirty winner.
There's a woman who I've never met who I met in a sense online through that foundation.
And you're sure she's in love with you?
And come on now. And she
First of all,
struggles.
you're sure she's a she?
She struggles with mental illness.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm trying to lighten the mood and not be disrespectful.
She uses her daily travels on her bicycle as a way to keep herself sane.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a smart coping mechanism.
Yes, it's an incredible coping mechanism. She's tattooed herself head to toe.
Okay.
And she uses, it's an extraordinary story. You should, I'll connect you with it online. But she uses, again, she copes with it this way. She uses the pain of the needle. I know.
Okay.
As a way to remind herself that she's human and real and whole and good.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Okay. And so I discovered this person through a very good friend of mine who I've known for 30 years. His name is Kevin Lynch, and he runs the Quell Foundation out in Falmouth, Massachusetts. And Kevin started the foundation because his son had illness, some issues, and became a drug addict, and ended up in prison due to that addiction. When the son got out of prison, Kevin took him into the home and did everything he could to protect him. The son ended up breaking his parole, going back and being incarcerated for an even longer extent. He's still currently in prison.
Wow.
But when that happened, Kevin lost his mind. Here's my healthy, strong, sturdy 6'6". I mean, this guy's a beast, right? You know, he's super strong, highly intelligent, and he absolutely lost his mind because of the pain that he went through with his son. He deep depression.
Wow.
And discovered over time that he too was mentally ill. That it was a physiological thing. That wasn't a mental thing in the sense of, oh, you're a crazy person, but missing things that are intended to be in our bodies that cause these mental, I don't know what you would call them, breakdowns, loss of hope. And it was so profound for him. He thought, I've got to share it with the world so people know it exists. This is why I'm even talking about it. And I'm going to create a foundation with the help of friends and my family, my wife, etc., to lift the mask off the stigma of mental illness, and then start a nonprofit that teaches different individuals. Is actually looking for people who want to get into the field of support. First responders, etc., counselors, doctors, etc., that deal in mental illness because there's such an overwhelming need for it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a brutal space.
Can I dovetail that into a preconceived notion that I carry?
Yeah.
And I have tried to overcome this preconceived notion, but I think maybe a lot of people may share this preconceived notion that addiction and depression are choices people make. Mm-hmm. And I always had the preconceived notion that you could just decide not to be depressed.
Yeah, I guarantee that's not true.
Well, no, I've come to realize that it's not true.
Yeah.
But I always had a preconceived notion that depression was a choice people make.
Yep.
And I could never see, why don't you just choose to be happy?
Snap out of it.
Yeah. I mean, just decide to get up and get out of the goddamn house or whatever it might be. And with addiction, just you see what it's doing. You see the evidence, the body of evidence is overwhelming. Decide, how can you keep making that choice?
Yeah.
That addiction is a choice people make. It's a conscious decision people make like alcoholism, just another form of addiction. Drug or alcohol, it's all the same. Addiction's a food addiction. Right. It's an addiction. That people choose to overeat, and people choose to get fat, and people choose to be lazy, blah, blah, blah. These aren't choices people make. These are chemical imbalances in their system. These are results of their environment and their experience. This is, these are effect, these are cause and effect based situations for people.
Yeah.
Sometimes organic, sometimes environmental.
Yeah.
But, I had this preconceived notion that, depression was, and curing depression was just as easy as a decision.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
Come on. That is such an ignorant perspective I carried for a long, long time. Hopefully I'm better than that now, and I've learned enough to be empathetic and respectful of people who suffer from depression or anxiety disorders or any of these things,
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No. I didn't mean to depress you. See how I did that?
You brought this down again, man. I was all up, and you just killed it.
Here we are rolling on some midget porn kick, and you got to bring the whole
Let's
thing
get back
down
to the German
down
thing.
to about this tall. That's where I brought it down to right about here. Belt tie on a tall guy. I think you know what I'm saying there, don't you?
Yeah. No, you're right. I think wisdom, time in service, living a life, experiencing people who have those issues, not thinking we're above them or better than them because we don't have their issues, but we have our own issues.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is actually a great preconceived notion, the idea that, well, I don't have any issues.
Right. I'm fine. You're fucked.
Right. There's something really wrong with you.
If I can't get along with society, it's because society just doesn't understand me.
Yeah.
And they need to get up to speed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a struggle with my wife and I. When certainly the beginning years of our marriage of when she would have an emotional response to something that she didn't like, and I would automatically just go, well, that's your problem. I mean, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you.
Right.
because I don't have that problem. I mean, that's clearly your problem. No, it's on you. No, it's on you. I know I still do that sometimes. I think it's just training, if you will.
Okay.
I know I'm better at it, but that is definitely a terrible preconceived notion to think that you don't have a thing going on. It's all on them.
Wow, we've been deep on this one.
Yeah, I hope we
keep
haven't bored that just complete crap out of
let's
people.
do a little some superficial preconceived notions.
Okay.
Every Taylor Swift album will be about guys she used to date. Preconceived
Wait a minute,
notion.
that is a truth.
Is that
That's
a fact-based truth?
clear truth.
A preconceived notion. I will enjoy every Stones album that ever comes out. Not true.
Right.
You know, I love the Stones, but I won't enjoy every album.
Right. Preconceived notion. I only like Asian porn.
Preconceived notion. Not true. Not true. The German midget porn comes back again.
Yeah.
Rears ugly head about this high. What about belt tying a tall guy? Preconceived notion. Every Ben Stiller movie will be shitty. No.
You know, I think the opposite.
You think they are great?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I'm hoping that they'll all be great
Okay.
because I admire and enjoy him so much. But every once in a while, he shocks me with an absolute stinker.
Okay, here's a preconceived notion. Ben Affleck could ruin any movie franchise he ever enters into.
Absolutely.
See? There you go.
Good one.
That's a good one. See, they're not always negatives.
That's a good one. Zack Snyder can make a great movie. Do you know who that is?
I don't. Is that Rob
Zack
Zombie?
Snyder is the guy that made 300,
Oh, I love that movie.
and he made The Watchmen,
I love that movie too.
and he made Superman, the
Yeah.
last Superman.
Yeah.
So in other words, he makes beautiful movies.
Yeah, really.
But a lot of people can't stand his movies because
love
they
them.
don't have any story, any
Right.
depth to them. I mean, 300 has a story.
Sure.
But if you do look at them on the surface, they're a lot thinner than, right? They are gorgeous and a little thin underneath.
So what's the
So I guess you have really crappy taste. in
no,
movies.
not at all. No. What's the deep message in 300 that
I don't know if
gay porn can include violence
I was gonna
too?
say, I don't know if
Is
it's
that
a deep message. But it is a gorgeous movie.
It's a gorgeous movie.
and
it's all oiled up and shirtless.
that's about it. It's really, really, really good looking.
Cool.
Really, and Gerard Butler.
That guy could act his way out of anything.
Out of the
Even a Jodi Foster kid movie.
out of the wettest
Right.
paper bag. A big, thick, wet paper
Shut
bag.
up and throw me a tire, tough
I
guy.
really do admire him, though. I do. I wish I was
That he
him.
keeps
He's
getting work?
handsome. God, he's a good.
What was the
looking
one
guy.
movie he made where he was the his wife and daughter were like killed in a home invasion?
Yeah, I
Did you see that
I
one?
was actually in my brain as we were talking about this. I was thinking about that, but I can't remember the name of the movie.
Yeah, it was Citizen, right? Upright Citizen.
Yeah, Upright Citizen, and
Is that
he
what it
ends up
was?
going to jail.
He goes to jail,
and then he breaks out.
Right, well, he's sneaking out,
Yeah,
so he can
yeah.
keep committing crimes. You know, sorry, spoiler alert on a 10-year-old movie. Screw you.
He's the bad guy.
I love that. I love when the guy who actually one of the perps grabs the gun and it's got the blowfish venom in it and he paralyzes
yeah.
him and then like fillets him while he can't, sews his eyelids open or clips his eyes so he can't blink.
Oh,
and just
shush,
Isn't that a
stop.
great movie? That's my favorite Christmas movie. I gotta say, it's my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
I'll watch that on Easter. Ham. Oh man, let's just talk about movies. Screw this
No.
topic. No. I
We did good. We did. I know you're not
Did we?
feeling. I know you're not feeling yourself today, but I think you're tough on yourself. You're your toughest critic, and you did good.
Okay, did we talk about this one? The idea that different opinions cannot come from reasonable people. I know we kind of touched on the edges of that.
I think we probably skirted across that a couple times, given different. At least I think I'm
Politics.
Yeah. Say that again. More time.
The idea that differing opinions cannot come from reasonable people, or that friendships are automatically disqualified.
I don't understand.
I guess forget the last part.
Yeah, the last part threw me. Yeah. I had wrapped my brain around your premise.
Yeah, the idea that different opinions cannot come from reasonable people.
That is a preconceived notion, and I think we touched on that when I was talking a little too much politics a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
You
Definitely
know,
timely.
Well, people can see and interpret evidence to different manners.
Yeah.
My preconceived notion that people would see my point of view if I just laid it out clear enough for them. That's a preconceived notion. That's kind of the exact same thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And it's a very valid preconceived notion that can be the undoing of compromise or anything.
Yeah. It's so I'm going to go off on a religious tangent on this for a second. I know it's dangerous.
I've only got 3 more years
yeah.
for this podcast, so kind of keep it short, would you?
5 more seconds. No. So in the Bible, they love the idea, meaning evangelical Christians, love the idea of
Preconceived notion that
Christ
it's being
coming to save them. Okay, the rapture.
Well, is that
anybody heard about the rapture?
Sure. That's where all the bad people.
I'm going to edit this out.
Bad people get left behind. The good guys get sucked up and then left with their clothes.
You know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to talk about it.
Remember Rapture?
No, seriously, I'm not going to talk about it.
Remember Rapture pranks where you would just throw the clothes over the laundry
Hang on a second.
and then the guy comes out and goes, you didn't make it, huh?
No, hang on. I want to leave that part in, but I got to cut that other shit out.
Okay.
I don't even know where to start from here.
You never
I'm gonna have the hardest time editing.
You never
this,
been Rapture
so
pranked?
Fucking sucks.
You've never been Rapture pranked, have you?
Like there's great moments and there's absolute dog shit moments. I've had so many Rapture moments in my life that I thought that really happened.
You wake up and your clothes are in the wrong room.
No.
Oh my God,
no.
Dad!
Like I've gotten years ago. Okay, wait. So I've got a funny story to end this podcast today to make up for all the other shit that sucked. Okay. I have this really, really bad habit of letting you think I'm listening to you. And I'm not. I'm so deeply focused in my thing. Okay. Not to say you as in Spike, but a person who's in the conversation.
I thought you meant me specifically.
Well, I was pointing at you.
You were. Maybe that's why I thought you meant me.
Right. No.
The way you had that sign with my name on it in the picture of me and you pointed at me.
So,
I thought it was me.
Remember when I told you about punching the floor because
you broke your hand.
Pissed off about that video game?
Yeah.
So there was a phase in my life
you tried to tell the military service that you broke your hand defending your nation or some shit like that. Yeah.
Fell over my son.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. On your way to fight communism.
Absolutely.
You're such a good
soldier. There was a period of my life where when I came home from my military day, because I was on shore duty. Every day I came home, all I did is play video games. It was that whole, again, the family thing. Like, you guys are in my way. I'm going to play video games.
Were you at least shooting people in your video games so you could write it off as it was expense?
It was like
you're running Mario Kart,
Super Nintendo,
whatever.
But
banana race.
But I would always play these games, and so my wife would come in, and I'd be in the middle of the game. Just absolutely just focused on the screen, cross-eyed.
That thing you're doing with your hand doesn't look like you're in the middle of a game.
Yeah, focused on the screen.
That's quite a joystick you got there. Is that going to get bigger?
It's about a 4-inch
angry mob
diameter. But I would be so focused on the game, and she'd be talking to me, and she would have a full-on conversation.
You were like,
and I was doing the And the thing is, I was trying to have a conversation, but I was distracted.
See what I'm doing there?
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you. So one day I'm playing, I don't know, name a game, Zelda. Okay. And it's light out. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And my wife says to me, I'm going to take the kids. This is what I heard.
Mother's
house. And I'm playing the game. And all of a sudden it's wintertime. So it's all of a sudden it's about 6:00 when it gets dark.
Twilight, yeah.
And I realized I got to go pee. So I paused the game and I realized the house is dark.
You were alone.
And it's completely empty. And there's no lights on anywhere. And I look out the window and my neighbor's lights are all out. All of them. And I thought the rapture had happened.
Holy shit. Checklist. No one playing video games. No one who's playing video games comes.
I was like, you left me behind,
my
Lord.
God, that's so
now
funny.
I'm going to have to take the mark of the beast. I swear to God, it really happened. I really thought it happened.
You need to get out more.
I know. So there you go. Silly, stupid story. You evangelicals, you need to get off the air.
Hey, man.
So that's my stupid end to this stupid podcast today.
Yeah.
But thank you for being remotely, and I shouldn't say that. That's unfair. Thank you for being highly interesting while I was remotely interesting.
Thanks for pretending you were listening.
I was.
It really made me
I swear to God, I was.
It's making me feel better now than it did then.
I was looking at you harder than I've ever looked.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I was looking
Your
at
disingenuous interest is gold to me. It's just gold. It nourishes me. It feeds my empty soul.
You know what I'm going to do after I edit this thing? I'm going to listen to it like 90 times and go like, wow, when did he say that? I don't remember that at all.